Welcome back to the Global Landscapes Forum here in Bonn, Germany, sunny Bonn, Germany. I'm Natasha Elkington, your host for this weekend. And here we're going to be discussing rights and the landscape and how rights of communities are important in terms of protecting our environment. And this afternoon, I have the pleasure of hosting Joselyn Dumas.
Hello.
Hello, who's a TV host and actor from Ghana. And you head the Joselyn Canfor Dumas Foundation, which aims to address the needs of vulnerable Ghanaian children. Cool. So actually tell us more about what your organization does.
So basically what we do, Joselyn Canfor Dumas Foundation, what we do is my way of giving back because I felt like the Ghanaian community or, Africa as a whole has been so kind to me to allow me on their television screens to entertain them some way, either in the movie or even from TV, etc. So I decided to give back, and I set up a foundation because I love children, first of all. And I realized that there's a gap in where education is concerned and healthcare. So we started off, dealing with healthcare with vulnerable children. So for instance, there's a child who is really sick, but the parents can't afford the medical care. So what we did was we were paying medical bills and stuff like that for these children. But then, my committee and I came together and we're like, what, it's great that we're doing that, but sometimes we're not able to keep a track record because some of these kids, their parents wait till it's very late before they come and seek help for the medical bills, and then some of them pass, unfortunately. But then I realized that with education, it can cover everything, so we decided that we're going to now educate, very smart, but obviously needy children. So we were able to identify children in the communities where they're probably at home because their parents can't pay their school fees, or they can't even afford their lunch money, for instance, because we have free education in Ghana from primary all the way up to university. So I decided to do that. And I guess even with education, we're able to even instill the 3 R's where climate change is concerned, reduce, reuse, recycle, where plastic waste is concerned. And so I think education is like the main scope when it comes to bringing up our future leaders. So that's what JCD Foundation does.
Wow. And how do you do that? Like how do you do that? How do you educate them?
So what we do is we identify, again, like smart but needy children. At the moment, I have about 10 children that I identified recently who are at home and their parents can't afford something or the other. It could be a school uniform, it could be sandals to school, it could be a pencil, or a mathematical set. So what we do is we identify these children. Obviously, I have a committee that I work with who would go through like a long list, a tall list, and then we come up with how we are going to put these children through school. And it's not just a one-off thing. We're involved with their development in the school, and we don't also give it to the parents. We deal directly with the schools, and so we make sure that these children, because sometimes, unfortunately, these parents will come to you, ask for the help, and then they use it for their personal needs. So I decided that, obviously the foundation decided that we're going to make sure that we're giving these aid to the school, so that they're able to make sure we see these children through school all the way up to the level that they're going to get to.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that's what we do.
Okay, and then so why is it important that we empower our children?
So children are the future. Like we have a lot of, and I know it sounds so cliche when you say children are the future, but we have a lot of, reforms that we're trying to sort of make sure that we're working on now. But then once we work on the reforms, what about the future? Because we're going to, as the cycle of life goes, we're here, we're making all these decisions, but we need to make them with the children in mind. Because we're going to leave this planet, and it's good, the children are going to be left behind, and they're going to run their affairs. So I think that the need to educate children is very important. And again, I also tell my people, that my team, that, look, as adults, we're set in our ways, right? If I've grown up littering, it's going to be so difficult for you to tell me to stop littering, right? But then if there's a child, you can mold them. A child is like a fresh virgin land. There's so much you can do with that child, with their brains. They're curious, they want to learn. Not to say that adults don't want to learn, but it's much easier for us to instill discipline in these children. So if you're able to educate the child on the need to even preserve their environment, they're going to go home and even tell their mothers that, mommy, no, we can't put this here. Mommy, no, my teacher said this is not supposed to be done here and that. So I think that they become like a tool and a channel to even educate the adults once we're able to educate them. And so for me, that is the focus.
And how old is your organization?
It's about It's about 8 years.
Okay, so
Yes.
in your 8 years, can you tell me like what progress you've seen in the work that you've done?
So like I said in the beginning, we were working with terminally ill children that
Okay.
were sick.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen surgeries.
Yeah.
We've seen some leukemia children survive, and a lot of them have died. We've seen aplastic anemic children, we've seen them through chemotherapy and stuff like that. I work with the cancer unit in one of the biggest hospitals in Ghana. So, I mean, I've seen some of the children survive, but majority of them, unfortunately, didn't make it. So I think that, yes, over the years, we have managed to realize that, yes, we're giving back, but then I felt that even the need to even take care of the child, we need education.
Right.
So the child needs to know what to do. So, for instance, if mommy is standing by, let's say, a suit or like some emission from a car, she can tell the mother, mommy, this emission is going to, in the long term, affect you and I. So can we move away from there? Maybe the mother is illiterate. She doesn't even know what the suit is going to do to her. And so we thought about it. We had to go back to the drawing board and say, what? I think that education, because even with the medical aid we were given, we had to educate the mothers on how to take care of these children, even when they were sick. So I thought, why are we even, not to say healthcare is not important,
No, yes.
It is, but I felt like my foundation, because I love children and the fact that I know that they're the future, I decided that it would be, my committee decided that it would be prudent for us to take care of children through education. And so far, it's been great.
Okay.
But we could do with, individual funding and individual donors. They should, help out. It's very difficult, especially in Africa, because there's that art of giving and not knowing what you're doing with the money becomes people become a bit skeptical. So it's very difficult to ask people to give you money or funding for something, a course like this. So that's a culture that also, again, with education, we're able to let people know that you can give your money, you can give us, and you can actually be a part of this organization and be with us every step of the way to make sure that we're putting your money to good use.
Right, because I mean the whole point is that we have to self-sustain.
Absolutely.
Right? That is the aim, I think, for Africa. We need to learn how to look after ourselves, own our stuff, find businesses within our own community instead of waiting for handouts. So it has to change that mindset.
And the funny thing is, my education, my foundation is identifying children who are not necessarily cut out for formal education. That's another thing that we always ignore and frown upon in Africa. It's all about the books. And then you send a child through school and she's probably always last in class. She's not grasping as she should, and the rest of the class will leave her or him behind. But then we need to identify some of these qualities and talents in these children and help them nurture it. I mean, you have a Juilliard that takes care of children who are artistic and creative, musicians. You know what I mean? I mean, it's so rare for a child to go and tell them, "Mommy, I want to be a musician in Africa," and then she say, "Oh yeah, go ahead, my beloved child, you can be a musician." Like, what?
Never.
You must be a lawyer. You must be a doctor or a pilot. It's always the traditional ways, and that's not to say that that's not great. But we need to identify the strengths of these children and put them in the right channels in order for us to maximize, their ability,
and the potential.
And the potential, exactly. Yeah.
So what do you think of this, like the Global Landscapes Forum, and as a platform to, move this agenda forward?
And I think that this is a great initiative, and I'm so happy to have been a part of it. I just wish that we had more time during our plenary, but it was great. What I think also is, I think that yes, the gender conversation needs to be had, but then we need to also let each other know that we're not in competition with each other when it comes to the climate. Like some of the speakers said, we're just caretakers of this planet. So if we learn how to work together, and nobody thinks that I'm superior over you, and then the woman thinks I'm inferior to the man. And we all come together and agree that we're going to make sure that from now on we're going to preserve the climate. I think that we're going to leave a brighter future for the coming generation. But if we don't, it scares me what's going to happen. But I think that the narrative needs to be had from here. It shouldn't just end in Bonn. I think that we need to continue with the conversation. We need to sensitize people, and they need to be educated where the climate is concerned. We need to preserve our forests. And again, I think that it's very important that we let people know that we're not in competition with each other. We are supposed to work together for a common goal, and that is to preserve what is left of the planet.
Of the planet. Yeah. It's not business as usual
No, it's
anymore.
not.
It's
No,
like,
it's
yeah,
not.
it's a call for
No,
action,
it's
and
a
it's
call for-
now
Yep.
and yesterday,
Yep.
actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank
Such
you
a
for
pleasure to
having me.
speak to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you.